Life Unrehearsed, brought to you by Lianas Senior Transition Support, specialists in downsizing and seniors residences.
And welcome back to Life Unrehearsed. I'm Corrie, clinical social worker and author of Someone Died, Now What? My co-host, Matt Del Vecchio, is off at a golf tournament, but no worries, he's going to be back with me next Saturday at 3. So now I want to talk about a topic that I have thought a lot about, and I've kind of been advocating to have that discussion, as Life Unrehearsed is all about the ins and outs of everyday life and how do you navigate them. So I thought the topic of having twins would be an interesting one, of parenting twins. How do you raise two kids at the same time? I mean, I'm a parent of two children. They're older now, but they're 23 months apart. So for me, it was busy. But the idea of having two kids at the same time, holy moly. So for all the parents and grandparents out there who do know how challenging it can be, that's why I want to do this. I thought it would be really interesting to talk to a few parents about what that experience is like. So if you have a good twin story, please text me at 514-800 because I'd love to hear it. But right now on the line, we have first up Paula. She's actually a single mom. She has a daughter, Fiona, who's 12, and a set of twins who are 2.5 years old, Ozzy and Delphine. So do the math. She's been parenting this 3 children through the pandemic. I want to hear about her perspective, what it's been like. Welcome to the show, Paula.
Good afternoon, Corrie. Thank you for having me.
So fun. This is going to be fun. So
yes.
Let's start with this. You had your Fiona, and you were trying to get pregnant again, and you got pregnant. And what was your reaction when you found out you were having twins?
So when the doctor, well, first of all, I had a bit of a feeling. So after having tried for a long time, I considered myself a bit of a pregnancy test expert. So to me, that line was quite dark for how long in the pregnancy I would have been. So I already had an inkling that there might have been more than one in there, and in fact was hoping for it, because with such a big age difference, to me, this was sort of, killing 2 birds with one stone. Getting 2 babies at the same time gave me my complete family sort of in one shot. But at the ultrasound, I think the doctor may have had more experiences with people being more shocked or being upset about the news, because I noticed, and this is what also told me I think there might be more than one, he was very, very quiet, and he was performing it very slowly, and he was, pointing out my bladder and kind of trying to divert my eyes elsewhere. But I was already looking for it, so I could see him kind of, between 2 different views. It looked to me like there might have been 2 babies. So I just straight up said to him, "Are there 2 babies in there?" And he said very calmly, "There are." And I think, again, he was waiting for some sort of scared reaction. But I said, "Oh, no, this is great news." So, he had the smile, and he was able to really kind of show me everything from there on in. But for me personally, it was excitement. Fear, any of that was really, maybe came a little bit later, but I would say more than anything, I was personally thrilled to get 2 in one shot.
And so, I mean, and I happen to know you personally, so I could see if anybody can handle it, Paula can handle it, right?
Thank you.
So that said, though, I have been told that twins can become high risk. Was it considered high risk?
Twins, by definition, is high risk. I learned very early on that, one baby at a time is kind of the safest of the pregnancies. And so whenever you have more than one, it is considered by definition high risk. In my case, I was having fraternal twins. So that means 2 separate sacs, 2 separate placentas. So that's the safest of the twins. So in my case, not, the highest of the high risk versus someone with 2 babies sharing 1 placenta in 1 sac kind of thing. So, riskier than a singleton pregnancy, but not, I didn't have to deal with a lot of, these things where if they share a placenta, they're sharing resources and one twin might be taking more, that kind of thing was not the case with me. But one of the good things about being high risk, I would say, is just so many ultrasounds, so many checkups. I didn't have to wait, weeks and weeks before being able to go back and check in on my babies, see how they're doing, see them growing. I would say at the beginning it was probably once a month, and then after that it was every 2 weeks, and then it was every week. So I have, whereas most people have maybe 2-3 ultrasound sets of pictures, I have an entire album. So that was the nice thing about being
well, the
high risk.
ultrasound, the pre-birth. Okay, fair enough. That's Paula. She's talking to us on Life Unrehearsed about the, first the pregnancy, finding out that she's having twins, and now let's talk about the childcare.
Well, I have a sister who lives in the States. So when we talk about childcare and kind of the going back to work type thing, I always consider myself super lucky to be living in Quebec and not in the States, because I didn't have to deal with, at 6 weeks or 12 weeks, whatever the case is, having to send them to daycare before I'm, emotionally ready to take that step. I started them in daycare at about 7 months, and I was lucky I found a daycare. She operated from home, though it was subsidized. So I was really lucky to have found that. So that sort of eliminated a lot of the, financial stress or the stress of sending them right to a big daycare before I felt ready. And then at 18 months, they started at a daycare that my older daughter had gone to. So again, easy transition. I have to say that element of the raising twins, in my case, has been super easy and stress-free. So very thankful to be living in Quebec for sure.
Fair enough. How similar or different are they?
They are similar in that they both have blonde curly hair and blue eyes, and that's about it. And they share a birthday.
Right.
That's about as similar as they get. They are complete opposites, and not just because one is a stereotypical boy who loves his trains and his his machines and playing with those tools and that kind of thing, and she loves dolls and Barbies and that kind of stuff. Their characters are completely opposite. So she is sort of the alpha, I would say. She is the dominant one,
right.
She is the loud one. And it's funny because the whole, nature nurture thing, I don't know if Ozzy would be as easygoing and laid back if he wasn't sort of having to be, because she is so dominant that he sort of has to be the kind of calm opposite to her to compensate. But yeah, their personalities complete opposite.
So funny.
Yeah.
So here's a question that I'd love you to answer. What do you know now that you would have liked to have known before having twins?
Well, delivery-wise, I thought it was, you deliver and they kind of both come off in one shot. It was a bit of a shock to me. I guess I hadn't done my research beforehand or hadn't heard stories, but I didn't realize it was 2 separate deliveries. So after, Ozzy came out first, and then the doctor said, okay, we're going to wait for some contractions to start up again, and, we're going to start pushing again. And that was a huge shock to me. I was not anticipating that all on I was exhausted at that point and couldn't quite wrap my head around. I thought he was kidding when he first said it. But yeah, right. the delivery part. And then I think also the things at the beginning that seem so difficult. You have 2 babies, 2 car seats, all these kind of go-tos that you would usually do with a singleton are suddenly not available to you because you have 2 babies in your arms. A lot of the things that I found really tricky at the beginning, I didn't realize later are part of the raising twins experience, in that you overcome them and you come up with clever ways, these twin hacks
right.
of how to do things when you have 2 of them. And that's part of the joy of raising twins. The little wins on the daily where
that's
you feel
funny.
So accomplished and you feel so clever for having come up with some idea of how to do something. And,
right.
nowadays with Facebook and all these kind of online groups, you can go and share those with other twin moms. And I get a lot of kick out of going in there, partly reading what
right.
people have to offer in advice, but also being able to give my own things that I've come up with. So what was sort of if you want to say a negative thing at the beginning, the so many challenges, I wish I had known, no. Like, face those challenges.
Right.
You will come up with clever ideas, and you will grow so much as a mother or as a parent from having, been through those experiences and coming out on the other side with wins.
Right. Thank you so much, Paula. Our time, actually, I have to head out to traffic, and we're going to speak to another family when we come back to learn about having adult twin daughters. So I appreciate your coming on and spending some time with us. And
you are most
good luck.
welcome.
Good luck.
Thank you, Corrie.
Take care. And now we go out to the CJAD Traffic Center.
Life Unrehearsed, brought to you by Flora-Lee Senior Residences. Always there for you. Safe, reassuring, and comforting. We call it home.
Welcome back. You're listening to Life Unrehearsed. I'm Corrie Sirota. Missing from the studio is my co-host, Matt Del Vecchio. But no worries, he'll be back next Saturday for the show. Today we're talking about the trials and tribulations of raising twins. So we heard from a mom of younger twins, and now we're going to hear from a very good friend of mine, Lori, who is the parent of two 29-year-old twin daughters, Michelle and Jamie. Welcome to the show, Lori.
Thanks, Corrie. It's good to be here.
So fun. Okay, now I'm going to go way back 29 years ago or almost 30 years ago. What was the reaction when you found out you were having twins?
I'm pretty sure you know, but despite the fact that I was on Clomid, which gives you a 7% probability of having twins, I cannot tell you how shocked I was to find out we were expecting twins. Absolutely stunned. It was, Lawrence was ecstatic and I was in shock.
That sounds about right. About right. Okay, so the girls are growing up and they're just wonderful, wonderful girls. How similar or different are they?
Okay, that's a really, I thought a lot about this question, and their similarities and their differences are intertwined because they share so many, from a physical standpoint, they're fraternal. So they are not identical. And the joke is that they don't even look related. They're the same height. They both have brown eyes, but that's where it ends. Jamie's fair. Michelle has dark features. But in terms of personalities, they share a value system. And that is very similar, but they process everything completely opposite. Michelle is very much calculated in her evaluation of everything that she does, and Jamie is more impulsive and jumps in with 2 feet and is very confident with her decisions. Michelle shares everything about her day, whereas Jamie internalizes.
Right.
She's a huge watcher and notices everything. So, but they're both very, very, they're similar, but so very different in how they process anything. So,
were you like the typical mom that dressed in the same, and so they didn't look the same, but did they wear like the same clothes, that kind of thing?
As people gave us, it's very funny you should ask that, because Lawrence and I never refer to them as the twins, whereas our friends and family members, it's no insult either way, refer to them as the twins. They were always the girls for us, and they were very different and very different personalities. If I bought a special outfit, it would look similar. One would have a pants, one would have a skirt. They were very sporty, the girls, so, sweatshirts and tights most of the time. Jamie always had long hair. Michelle tended to have shorter hair. So their look, they look different. I didn't purposely buy, I purposely bought 2 of everything, but I not necessarily the same article of clothing.
Right. Okay, so what developmental or age phase was the most challenging, would you say?
Well, that was the easiest question that you gave me. And really and truly, it had to have been the teen years. As a mother of girls in particular, we tried our best to raise independent, strong girls. And unfortunately, or fortunately, that's exactly what I got during the teen years, these independent, strong girls. It was a tough period. It was probably the one time that they were 100% united against Lawrence and I.
It's so funny that you say that. That's Lori. She's talking about raising twins, and they're now 29 and adults, and lovely, lovely adults. But we're talking about those challenging adolescent years. I wondered how much they got along or fought.
So again, this was a very interesting question, and I think I forget more than I remember, truthfully. But they were, because they shared everything in the same core of friends in the same school. I think at that period of time they were they wanted to exert their own independence from each other, and it was difficult when their whole world was one. They did absolutely argue. They are sisters and siblings, and just like mine, I think they were their worst enemies and their best friends at the same time when it needed to be.
Did they ever speak to you about, knowing the other person's thoughts or feelings, or feel they could feel? I don't know. You hear that about twins.
So it's funny you should say that. So as this interview was coming up, we actually had these conversations, I think, for the very first time. And people have asked them over the years, do you sense something from the other one? And the two of them will say, we don't have a situation where I was in gym class and I felt that there was something wrong. Their worlds are so melded together that they played soccer together, and God forbid someone picked on Michelle while Jamie took care of it on the field. So it was not more of it was more instinctual. I would say if you asked them if they were very in tune to each other, but to say that one felt something in another room with the other, I don't believe so.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. So now I want to ask you, as I asked Paula earlier, what you know now that you would have liked to have known before having twins.
Yeah, I thought a lot about that question also. I will tell you that time is a struggle, and you need to be a lot more no-nonsense, and just to accept the fact that maybe your act won't look as put together as your friend who has one baby, and it's okay, it's fine. Everyone will eat, everyone will get their diaper changed, everyone will get a bath. It will all happen in a much different way. So just accept that it's okay, it's fine.
Right,
and the fact that they are different people, and to embrace the fact that they are different.
So it sort of goes along with the other question I was asking you about what advice you'd give to other parents who are expecting twins.
It's a very similar question.
Yeah.
You're the best judge in anything that goes on. Take all the well-meant advice and do what you think is best, because that's usually the right thing to do. And don't look at them as one entity. They will actually knock your socks off, because they'll do things in such different ways that it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. And two different things makes it perfect.
Right. You know what? Thank you so much, Lori. You were fantastic, as I knew you would be. This is Lori Buckborough, the parent of two adult twins, Michelle and Jamie. We heard her perspective, so thank you so much for sharing your experience with us today.
Thank you, Corrie. Thank you for inviting me.
So coming up next week, we're going to be talking to the first woman ever to finish in the race across America. It's a 5,000-kilometer ultra-endurance bike race, and she completed it in 11 days. That's an average of more than 20 hours per day on her bike, including the first leg of the race, where she went 40 hours straight before stopping for a break. We're going to hear about that story, and you're going to meet Randy and Samantha. They're the owners of Hulla Land Montreal. They are two stay-at-home moms who created a business making challahs. Tune in for that. That's on Life Unrehearsed. Many thanks to my technical producer, Jimmy G, who I could not do today without. You can listen to Life Unrehearsed here every Saturday on CJAD 800 at 3 p.m.
Life Unrehearsed, brought to you by Lianas Senior Transition Support, specialists in downsizing and seniors residences.